there, and thanks for checking out my review and first impressions of the Sama IM01. I just purchased this case actually the other day, yesterday, and came in today from Newegg, Canada. It was $107 after taxes and shipping, and it kind of places it in between the Coolermaster NR200 and NR200P, which you can see right here. I used the NR200P as my personal build, and I was just kind of shocked how similar this was. I'd never seen this case before, and what made me stumble upon it is I have a request to build a system for a media center that's a small factor, but he wants to have lots of storage. And I was looking for an MATX case that supported 2, 3, maybe 4 3.5 inch drives, and I stumbled upon this one. Now, this case boasts support for up to 5 3.5 or 7 2.5 SATA drives. It can hold up to 6 120 millimeter fans. But the biggest thing about this, for me at least, is though it's the same size and very close to the Coolermaster, it's not limited to ITX motherboards, but it also supports MATX. And not only that, I could use a small form factor power supply, or I could use an ATX power supply. This is great for when you want a small ITX style build at a lot lower cost. Anyone who's familiar with ITX builds, the motherboards and power supplies are the biggest cost besides the video card, and they're not cheap. So construction wise, visually they're very similar. I mean, there's obviously differences, but you know, this is as close as imitation you can really get without breaking rules. Even the mechanisms used to hold the panels on are very similar. So with Coolermaster and with the Sama, they use clips with a ball stud, and they pop in and out. This is nice because it allows for toolless entry, and you know, it's nice because you don't drop a screw. So the Coolermaster, what's nice about it is fit and finish is just a lot better in the Coolermaster. Being plain and simple, panels are easy to get on and off, where this is a little bit more difficult. Not to say it's not that hard, it's just, again, the Coolermaster, they did their homework. So I'm just going to pull this off to the side. So this does share a lot of similarities with the Coolermaster, including this bracket that you didn't see in my case because I'm using a side mount GPU. Coolermaster has this bracket for 240 AIO, just like this one here. This will support a 240 AIO, 2 120mm fans, 2 3.5 or 3 2.5 drives. It's held on by 2 screws found near the back of the case. And after those screws are removed, the panel comes off very easy. Inside is a manual, which, no, I'm not going to read it. Let's be real. So, you are greeted with the inside of the case. Again, this supports ITX and MATX motherboards, so I'm very excited to try that. Here, you can see the small form factor power supply, and up top is the ATX power supply. Back panels were moved the exact same way as the front, or the side panel. And the top and bottom use the same kind of method with the ball studs. Top's a little bit more difficult because instead of having 2, there's 6 ball studs holding the top in place. So with the top panel removed, you can see we have access to either more 3.5 or 2.5 drives, or additional fans on top. I feel like they missed the mark in regards to make this, almost perfect, at least for me. I prefer having an AIO or liquid cooler on the top. The Coolermaster doesn't support that, and you need to put it on the bottom. If this was like half an inch higher, it'd be a lot easier to put an AIO up here. It's not to say that you can't, it just, you end up spending more money. The way I envision that you can do it is you're going to have to use low profile, thin 120 or 140 millimeter fans paired with your AIO, and have the AIO on the bottom because there's a little bit of a cavity which will allow you just to kind of squeeze everything in. That will be tested later on when I build in it. So to remove the power supply for the small form factor power supply, there's 2 clips or 2 screws holding it in, and 2 bent tabs keeping the top in place. So after removing 2 screws, drive, you just lift it up and pop out. An additional 3.5 or 2.5 can be mounted on this bracket, as well as zip tie mounting points. Your front panel is nice and bare. Again, I love simple, clean, aesthetic builds, and it's removable by pulling on the very bottom, down like bottom tab, like on many cases. So, pop up. So, what you just saw here is a little clip that came off. It's a clip that goes right here. I'll lead into this a little bit about the fit and finish, but that just pops back in. I'm not surprised because this already has popped off for me already. So, get into the bare skeleton of this, kind of break down kind of the features. We have room for 2 120mm fans on the bottom. If you slide mount your video card, you can have an AIO on the bottom. If not, if you have your card on the bottom, you can still put 2, depending on the thickness of the card, 2 120mm fans blowing up, helping keep the card cool. That's great if you actually want to mine in this. I think this will have fantastic airflow, especially having fans blowing directly in a card. It would help keep it cool. So additional 2 120mm fans can be mounted on the side and 2 on the top. There is support for rear 180mm fan, and that's actually what's included with the case. It's just a 180mm fan. Why they went that route doesn't make sense. Not many people use it. I'm going to be pulling it out myself and opting for 120s. So let's get to the your bang per buck. Bang per buck wise, I feel you get a lot more with the Coolermaster, especially the NR200P. For around $100, the NR200P, you get 2 120mm fans and a PCI riser to mount your video card sideways, and just the build quality is a lot better. With this was $85 plus $10 shipping, so put it at $95, so I'm $5 short. I get an 80mm fan versus 2 120s. I don't have that PCI riser that you can get with the NR200P, and the build quality is just not there. The fit and finish is just not there. It's not aesthetic. It looks good aesthetically. Just when you're building it, it's a little bit of a headache, I would think. But the big shining grid, the big thing for this case is the fact that it supports MATX and ATX power supplies. If you want a small case but you don't want to break the bank, this is a great option. It's if you were to do a budget build, you want something small, you know, you spend $50 more, you can get this case versus a Deep Cool, D-Shield, or any cheap case, like any under $50 case, and you got something small, easy to portable, great airflow, looks great overall. It's all steel construction, no plastic. That, you know, it's a cool case. Really, I think it's gonna be cool to build in. It's gonna be a little difficult. I think actually easier to build in than the Coolermaster was, because that was kind of difficult. This looks a little easier. But the only thing that sucks is the price and the fit to finish. But again, this is a kind of almost a niche case that not everyone's going to go for. I personally, I like it. I will probably get more of these in the future for future builds. This may be my go-to MATX case just because it's awesome looking, it's cool, and it's small. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it intuitive and got you some information that you're looking for, and you have a good one.